said, he goes, I'm going to be your worst coaching client ever. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, because if I fail, it's all on you because I'm going to do everything you say. And I was like, bring it. I love clients like that.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, excited to have Rami Odeh. Rami, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate you joining us. And this is going to be a little bit different, but I'm excited because I think our listeners are going to get a ton of value from you, from your story. And so a little bit about Coach Rami. He is the founder of FormWell Personal Fitness, personal training company that's located in Sandy Springs, Georgia, founded in 1999. And over the 20 years, Rami ran and owned the business and helped over 5,000 clients achieve their fitness goals. And he sold the business in 2019 and now is, what's that?
Right before COVID. I finally timed something.
So. That was probably absolutely perfect timing, right?
I knew it was coming. Yeah, I actually started COVID. So yeah.
You're like, hey, what can I do here? Yeah. Oh, shoot. So now main focus is motivational speaking, writing, coaching. So with that said, give our listeners a bit more about your background, what's important, and then I'll dive into your story too.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. And we said before we came on camera and on recording that I definitely need to update my bio. It's been about 2 years. And ever since joining GoBundance, life has changed incredibly for the good in multitude of ways. So, I've gotten into a lot of new things, but I'm sticking in my lane. Everything I'm doing is still fitness related. So I've been in the fitness industry for 32 years now. I made it 3.5 years in corporate America. So that was long for. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. When I take the psychological tests, like I'm literally unemployable. I am made to be an entrepreneur, and I tried the corporate world, couldn't do it. Went back to graduate school when I was in my late 20s for exercise science, and I've been in the fitness field ever since. I was a full-time coach in small gyms, large gyms, clients' houses, high-end clients, things like that. Started my gym in 1999. It's funny, tomorrow is actually the 25th anniversary of me starting that gym. It's crazy. And, went through some really great times with it. We were insanely profitable and had some really difficult times after 2008. And, we can dive into that when we talk about wealth building a little bit. But, I was able to rebuild the business and sold it, like I said, in 2019. And then went into consulting and coaching. My rule when I sold the business was I didn't want anybody but me and my laptop, right? So that was my goal. And, kind of needed a break from being a manager and managing people and just wanted to have my own gig. And then got introduced to GoBundance and this whole thing called horizontal income, which at, 58 years old at the time, I wasn't thinking about it because I owned a very profitable business that I barely worked in. So I was doing horizontal income before I even knew what it was, right? But I sold that. And certainly did not sell it for enough to retire, right? It was just sort of almost a bridge loan thing. And, I got into basically consulting and selling franchises, a fitness franchise. I'm totally doubled up in it right now with Alloy Personal Training. And as I was selling them, I realized how much I loved the product. And I ended up starting to buy into them. So now that's really my main focus. I'm still coaching. I have a coaching program through GoBundance. Got 27 guys doing a 10-month program, super fun. And I'm doing that with a co-coach as well. And then, my other two really pillars is, selling franchises. So I'm an independent consultant. I get commissions on that. And then I pour those commissions back into ownership. And I've got a call tomorrow about buying into 2 more, which would put me at 7 locations that I'm a minority owner in. And that's all happened in the 2 years I've been involved with GoBundance.
That's cool.
So, if you can say hockey stick, we're definitely on it, which is super fun to do late in life,
Well,
Yeah.
that's the power of being involved in a group and a network of high achievers and thinkers, is that you were on a path and it was fine, but then you kind of got your eyes opened, right? And you
Yeah.
said, I can do more.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
so anybody that's saying, hey, is getting going through coaching good for me? Is joining a mastermind good for me? Like, yes,
Well,
right.
I was talking to Matt King about it, and someday we'll do my story maybe on stage. But in November of 22, when I decided to join, because I was a guest speaker and I came to an event
Yeah.
as a guest first to see what it was like, and I got paid to come, which was great. I tried to finagle it so I could continue getting paid to be a member, but that didn't work, And so, hey, I'm a salesman, always trying, right? But I tell the story now. In November of 22, I had to take the $10,000 fee out of my HELOC to pay it. I did not have the cash. And it
Mm,
was a big deal. Like, it was a big conversation with my wife. Like, you're doing what? And then the events cost what? Like, she didn't understand it.
yep.
Fast forward to now, she came with me to Vermont and she literally is asking me, when are you going to your next GoBundance event? Can I go with you? Like, because not because she even like is immersed in GoBundance, because she's seen what it's done for me.
Yeah.
So that's a 18-month story, like at age 59, 60.
So in 18 months, right, it cost you the fee, the
Yep.
yearly fee, and then every time you go to an event, it costs you
Yeah.
significantly more money, right?
Yeah.
In the 18 months that you've been involved in the Go Abundance Mastermind group, would you say you've made your money back?
Oh my gosh. Like, let me give you some examples. I was out to dinner with a friend last night and he's like, man, you seem to be, he's retired. We're the same age. He's retired. I'm starting a whole new career. We couldn't be in more different places, right? He's like, I slept till 10 today. I'm hanging out with my wife. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I had 74 calls today. But I can't retire, by the way, too. That's another
Yeah,
thing.
that's
No way. There's too much craziness here. Um, I made more in January of this year than I made in 2022.
wow.
Yeah. So does that answer your question? Did I
Yeah,
make my money back? Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I 3x'd my total income last year in 1 year. And really it was more, but I was doing so well that I actually pushed some of my commissions to 2024. I invoiced them later, but so I can deal with the taxes. I had to fire my accountant and hire a new accountant because the guy can't keep up. So, and
What's the key to that success? Why? Because here's the deal: is a lot of people will join. Well, a lot of people will hire a coach and they fail, right? Or not,
yeah,
maybe not fail, but they
I
don't
have it
get the
happen.
value out of it. They're mad.
Yeah.
They. That's how people give gurus a bad name, right? Is that they hire them and that doesn't work for them, or
Yeah.
they join this mastermind group and then they quit because it didn't work for them. Now, there's definitely quality in groups in coaching. So there is that aspect, but why did it work for you? Like, what did you do to make it
Yeah.
work?
It's funny. I've had this question from a lot of new guys. It's funny because I've really immersed myself in GoBundance. Mia will put me with a lot of new guys and I'll do calls with them to kind of walk it through. And, when I got there, it's intimidating, right? Like anybody that goes to their first GoBundance event, I'm going there, you know, you and I talked about this, to speak on the benefits of testosterone replacement, right?
Yeah.
And I text my wife and I go, there's more testosterone in this room than I've ever seen in my life, right? Like, I don't know how I'm going to get through to these guys. This is the most baller group of men I've ever met. Um, so one of the things that I did immediately is I realized, first of all, stay in my lane to help guys. I saw immediately there was a missing component. There was a lot of misinformation about health and wellness.
Mm,
We're very much shiny lure kind of
mm,
guys. And,
yeah.
oh, fasting's good. Let's fast for 9 days. Oh, cold
Yeah.
plunge is good. Let's cold plunge for a week and a half. Like they dive into these things and then they don't stick with them long enough. And there are a lot of them are missing the basics. So I said, you know what? I'm going to pour in and help as many of these guys as I can, really without an agenda. Now, of course, if somebody says, I want to coach with you, that's going to be, I'm going to do that, right? I'm not going to
Yeah.
turn people down, but I'm not there to pitch or sell people. I'm really was there to help. So really, instead of going to see what I could get, out of GoBundance, I looked into see what I could give. And
Mm,
I've been giving ever since. And every time I feel myself falling into that, oh, I'm going to this event and it costs this much money. I got to make sure I get 7 leads when I'm there. That's a networking thing. That's not GoBundance, right? And I changed that paradigm and I pour into people and it pours back to me. And really, it's being involved. I think that one of the advantages of that $10,000 hurting so much in November 2022 is I was going to get my money's worth, man. I'm doing everything. I'm going all the events. I am doing as many micro tribes. At one point, I had like 8 micro tribes on my schedule. I had to stop that. That was a little too much. But I just dove in, and tried to learn from people. And I was blessed because Pat Hyman was the one who introduced me to GoBundance. I know a lot of people. I already had a bunch of guys that were coaching with me, so I understood sort of the thing. But I tell all the new guys, like, one guy stood up. I think it was in Tahoe, and he said, "I came down. It was my first event. I looked at the room. I went right back upstairs and told my wife I'm flying home. Like I don't belong here." And I think you'd be fucking lying if you said every guy didn't have that feeling when they first went to this event, except maybe the founders. Pushing through that, what the light at the end of what's on the other side of that is
right.
unbelievable. So that's a short, if I can do anything short-winded, which is impossible, but so
Well, I love
yeah,
that. So, and that is probably a question you should ask at every event you go to, right? When you go to a conference and you think, what can I get out of this conference? Certainly
yeah,
it's okay to think that way, but also you have to start thinking, what can I give? What can I
yeah,
give? How can I show up here to give? And it's the old saying, like if you give, you end up receiving too, right? It's just going to happen. And then,
and every conference has a different feel. That's what I've learned.
100%.
I've been to 4 of them now, and every single one had a different energy.
Yep.
Maybe not the conference, maybe more me. Like I went into it with a different energy.
Yep.
I definitely feel more like I belong now, both because it's like a family reunion now. You walk in and so many people,
You know,
which is
so many people.
amazing. And also because I 3x'd my income in one year. So I can tell new people like this shit works, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but getting back to your question, like, and I've been coaching for 32 years, thousands of people. Obviously, not everybody has just crushed it, right? It's just statistically impossible. Any coach that says that is lying, right?
Yep.
Every client I have, my thing is, I always tell people, I guarantee you will get the results that I tell you if you follow everything I say. And
Yeah.
I repeat that like 3 times.
Yeah.
And it's funny, one of my clients that kind of really pushed the coaching up was Daniel Del Real, right? He did a 1 year transformation with me, and I posted his pictures, and he texted me, he goes, "I thought you didn't want more coaching clients." I got 17 calls booked after I posted his pictures, right? In like 3 days. But when he started with me, I'll never forget this. He goes, "I'm going to be your worst coaching client ever." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Because if I fail, it's all on you because I'm going to do everything you say." And I was like, "Bring it." I love clients like that
Yep.
because I know
That's
it's
the
going to work.
that's the best coaching client.
That
Yeah,
is
not the
the best
worst.
coaching client. And that's
Yeah.
the same thing with GoBundance.
Yeah.
Anybody that says, "I didn't get anything out of it, it wasn't worth the money, guys were at whatever, that's on them. It's not on GoBundance.
Yep.
That's the franchise model, right? We tell people, look, we give you everything, but it's still your business.
Still
You
your
gotta run,
business.
you gotta run the
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's on you, right?
It's all about accountability. And that's
Oh my
and
gosh, yeah.
I coach people that want to buy multifamily properties. And that's the thing that I can say 100% is I know very quickly if a person is going to be successful and going to
Yep.
start doing the actual deals. And I can tell if they're going to struggle and maybe never do anything. Because when I tell them, hey, I need you to read these 3 books and we're going to talk here in a month about those 3 books, and they show up and they say they didn't have time to read those books, I know they're just not going to do
Oh yeah.
they don't have what it takes. But when they say, yeah, I read those 3 books and I read 4 others, then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, dude,
That's your guy, right?
yeah,
Or your gal.
that's the
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. It's funny, we do what's called the discovery process in the franchise world. It's about a 4 to 6 week process where I bring somebody in as a consultant who's interested, and then we take them through the process all the way to the point of they're ready to either buy or not buy a franchise, right? And I tell everyone, this is a mutual evaluation process. You're evaluating us, but we're also evaluating you, because
Yeah.
franchises, a lot of people don't realize the franchise fee is almost a wash. Franchises make money on royalties on a 10-year agreement, right? So if this person doesn't follow the process during that thing, they are not going to be a good owner.
Mm.
And we've got it down so much that literally, like you just said, if somebody misses a call without a warning, shows up late, is not prepared, we literally drop them out of the process, which is crazy, right? As a sales guy, I'm like, wait, what? Like, you're dropping a lead out of the process, but now I totally get it. I do the same thing with coaching now. And, it's almost like GoBundance should do something like that, right? Like if people are never going to events and they're never getting on calls and they don't have a GoPod, it's just going to be a bad reference for us,
Yep. It's just it's time to move on. If you're not gonna put in the effort, it's just time to move on. It doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for us. And that's what you want. That in my opinion, it was what makes a strong mastermind. I do think that GoBundance that would benefit from it is if they did that. Is what makes a strong mastermind is you can have people that are highly involved, right? And you have people that are putting in the effort, and the people that are actually showing up, like what you said. What can I give? Think of every single person had that mindset. What can I give?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, wow. That's amazing to think about what could come out of those rooms. And by the way, it's a very, very giving group as it is.
Unbelievable.
And most masterminds are. But if every person had that mindset, it would be.
Yeah, when I realized that immediately, like, this is not a bunch of pretentious assholes. I did my first talk, and I'm in the back of the room and everybody's talking to me, and I don't even have business cards with me because that's not what I'm there for. I'm there to pour into these guys. I knew they didn't know a whole lot about testosterone. I want to help them. And they're like, well, look, nobody does business cards anymore. I'm like, oh, okay. They said, you should have a QR code that has your information on it. And that's before we had them on the little name tags, right? 10 minutes later, Carlos Amaya, I don't even know him. Now he's a client, walks up to me and had made a QR code for me and gives it to me. And he's like, you need it, because I was presenting 2 more times. He's like, you need to have this. And I'm like, oh, well, I really wasn't here to sell, but thank you. Like that to me was a cool. Litmus test, or an example of what GoBundance is about, right? And there's a billion stories like that where people do that kind of stuff,
I want to switch gears a little bit. Look, this is a podcast. We've got a bunch of entrepreneurs that listen to this, probably mostly real estate investors, and they're looking.
Guys in GoBundance do real estate, Todd? Really?
Yeah, right.
I'm the only one who doesn't. Out of 1,000 people.
Right. So, look, high achievers, right? And high achievers oftentimes get stuck in some bad habits. And I think obviously you can speak to the health side of the equation. How do people change those? You're a busy entrepreneur, you're focused on your business, you maybe have a family, so you also got to spend some time with them too, right? So the health kind of goes to the wayside. And I think it's easy to do. It's easy to have a poor diet. It's easy to grab stuff quickly. I catch myself, and I'm running out. I'm running to one meeting, running to the next meeting, and I'm hungry. So I go run by Taco Bell or something like that. Gross, right?
Yep.
So how do you change your diet and your exercise habits if you're just running 100 miles an hour?
Yeah. You mind if I tell a quick story and it'll encapsulate this?
Absolutely.
I swear it'll be quick. It won't be 6
hours. I love stories. Just keep it under 45 minutes.
I will. I'm a big storyteller because I think it encapsulates things. So when I was personal training, I had a client who was very, very diligent, never missed his sessions, trained with me 3 times a week. He was a photographer for Sports Illustrated. So he traveled. Anytime he wasn't with me, he was traveling, right? And so he worked out diligently. Like if he traveled, he would do 3 days in a row with me. Like he's like, I'm getting my 3 workouts in. But he ate like crap. right? Like, I
Mm.
mean, his favorite thing was those Cinnabons in the airport. Remember those friggin' things? By the way, they're 1,200 calories for the
Oh,
large one, right? Like crazy. He loved
just
those. And he
sit
would,
like a rock at the bottom of
oh,
your
the
gut,
worst,
right?
right? Pure sugar and flour and just like
Yeah.
awful. So, and his excuse to me was always, I'm too busy. I don't have enough time to focus on my diet. I can work out, but I can't focus on my diet. So fast forward, I'm training the guy. He's on the treadmill. He starts to grab his chest like this, which, by the way, is the international sign of a heart attack. If you want a little, if anybody's listening and doesn't know that,
Yep.
I feel pressure, I feel pain, hard to breathe, and I'm like, okay, I've taken CPR 30 times. Get off the treadmill. We're checking it. Of course, the next thing he says is, no, it's my asthma. Let's keep working out. The second sign of a heart attack is denial, especially in men.
Mm.
I wouldn't train him. I said, just do me a favor, go to the doctor, no charge for the session, right? Like if it's fine, just come back. We'll train you this afternoon. That's 10 o'clock in the morning. The next call I get is his wife calling me at 1 o'clock the next day. He's coming out of quadruple bypass surgery.
Jeez.
So he was so blocked that they wouldn't let him go home when he went to the doctor. Okay. The story has a happy ending. So fast forward 9 months later, this guy is working out now 6 times a week, is eating a perfect diet, has lost 30 pounds. And guess what? He's still a photographer for Sports Illustrated. He still travels the most. The moral of this story, the reason I'm telling is what changed in his life? His why,
Yeah.
his reason.
Yeah.
So everybody's focused on the how, especially Go Bros. What's the latest diet? What's the latest workout program? And I stop them in their tracks. I spend the first call, sometimes two calls, just talking about your why, right? Now, I don't want everybody to have a heart attack, but guess what? Some people have to have that
Mm.
or the equivalent of it, right? Horrible blood test, you're pre-diabetic, whatever. But there has to be a powerful why. I stole this from Gary Keller. He says, if it doesn't make you cry, it's not a big enough why. It has to have an emotional component. That to me is the core of everything. And when I have a client who gives me a why, and then a month later isn't doing shit, like you said, not reading the books, not doing the homework, I say, this why isn't working. We need another one. And I will peel that onion until we get to it. So that to me, and I've done a whole podcast on just developing a why and what are specific ones and all that, but that to me is more important than anything. I've got
Mm.
all the hows. I've been doing this 32 years. Don't worry about it. Like, I've got you want to do fasting, I'll tell you how to do it. You want to do hormone replacement, I'll tell you how to do it. You want to be on a low carb diet, I'll show you. Whatever you need to do, we'll do. You want to be vegan, I can walk you through that, right? Whatever. But without a why, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
if your why was powerful enough, you would maybe go to Taco Bell, but you would get the salad. You know what I mean? Like,
So
seriously.
it's not necessarily the path, right? Like you said, like
It's
you could be vegan, but there's a million ways to get to
million,
healthy.
a million.
Yeah.
Yeah. There,
Yeah.
there are some commonalities on successful people. Like, you have to do some kind of strength training. You
Sure.
have to. You know, you have to eat enough protein, whether it's vegan or animal products, you have to, right?
Yeah.
You should eat moderate amounts of carbohydrate. You have to sleep. Like, there's things that you have to do. But again, you're not going to do any of those, unless you have a why, right?
Yep.
And by the way, people do not like it, Todd. They don't like it. They give me goals like that. Well, I want to lose 20 pounds. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because I want to fit better in my clothes. Why? Well, because blah, blah, blah. Finally, 36, I'm like a 2-year-old, right? Why?
Yep.
Finally, they get to, well, my wife told me the other day she really doesn't find me attractive and doesn't want to have sex with me anymore. Whoa, hello. I think we have a why. For most guys, that's pretty powerful, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, some guys go to the doctor and they say you're pre-diabetic, and they're like, great, I'm getting a donut on the way home. Like, they just don't care. It's not real. Heart
Yeah.
attacks are real because they're painful
Yeah.
as shit. So
Yeah. I'm thinking about one of my investors. He went to the doctor, found out he was diabetic, and he was a bigger guy, and
yeah,
from there on, that was a powerful enough why for him to where
it's a
he
big one,
stopped eating crap. He said, I don't want to be the guy that's on these pills my whole life.
right?
And I'm still eating like crap. I'm still got all my bad habits, but I just popping these pills. that's not going to work for me.
No,
So,
no. And that's a really big one. Another really quick story. My brother at my wedding in the year 2000 was 320 pounds. I have a picture of
wow.
him, show it to him all the time, right? And he had gout, he had high blood pressure, he had
Mm.
high cholesterol, he had everything. That next week, he went to the doctor and was told he was pre-diabetic, going to be diabetic, right? What he equated, he doesn't care. He's tough as nails. He didn't care about dying. He doesn't care, but he cares about being a burden on his family. And he heard foot amputation, maybe I'll be a cripple, losing my eyesight, and I'll be a burden on my family. He completely changed his diet the next week. A year later, he was under 200 pounds and has kept it off for 24 years, pretty much. That
Wow.
moment for him was the most, and you could have told him, you have heart disease and you're going to die in 2 years. He's like, I don't care. That's cool. As long as I'm not a burden on my family. Right. So isn't that interesting?
That's crazy.
That was his why. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, you got to find it. And it's powerful. I think it's so important because we talk about it in business. I feel like everybody knows in business, when you become a business owner, you have to have a strong why. Otherwise, you're not going to get, because there's going to be tough times. Like, look, you and I have ran businesses and we have had tough times. We've had times where it feels like the better option might be just to give up.
Walk
Right.
away.
And,
Yep.
and the easier option is to just give up. But if you don't, and if you have a why, you can grab that and you can go,
Yeah.
okay, look, we got to keep pushing on. And this is why, right? If you don't, it's probably going to be the easier option, the better option, just to give up because
Oh, there were 1,000 times I should
yeah,
have sold my gym, but
100%.
after between 2008, 2000, 14, 15, like it was so many things, kind of piled up on us at that time. And my why was like, I've been in corporate America. If I go back, I called it a prison. I said, if I go back to that prison, I'll be a terrible husband, a terrible dad. I might
Yeah.
make money, but it won't matter. I'd
Yeah.
rather struggle financially and at least be who I am. And I just
Mm.
had in my heart, I knew if I just figured it out, I would bring it back. And we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. Are you still, are you still a big runner?
No, I'm not.
You used to run
So
a lot, right?
a lot. I've been running since I was 15, so 45 years. I did 250 triathlons total, not Ironmans, but
Yep.
sprints, Olympics, half
Yep.
Ironmans. I did one Ironman. Then I moved into long distance ultra running. I did that. I do everything in my life for 15 years. I figured it out. I was a semi-professional motorcycle racer for 15 years as a
Wow.
kid.
That's
I
cool.
was I was a triathlete for 15 years.
Yeah.
I was an ultra runner for 15 years.
Okay.
And now does the picture
Yeah.
show up?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I did on my 59th birthday. I decided to dive into bodybuilding.
So go back
And
to that
so
picture.
so that's me at 59 and that's me at age 60 on my 60th birthday.
So for those
I
of
did
you
that in
who
1 year.
are listening, if you got an opportunity to go on YouTube, find this video, it'd be good
You
to
can
see.
describe it, Todd. I mean, come on. What are you
Yeah,
saying?
well, that's what I was going to do
I'm
next.
totally
I mean,
kidding,
so
but
when
yeah.
you were, what'd you say was the before? What were you?
So
50,
age 59, and that's an ultra
59.
runner. So I'm ultra
Okay.
running. I'm lifting weights a little. I can run 50 miles straight. I'm a
Yep.
cardiovascular beast, but I really don't have a whole lot of muscle.
Yep. And so
Yeah.
then fast forward, you stopped, did you stop running completely?
100%. First
100%.
time. Yeah. First time in 40 years.
And
Yeah.
then you started strength training. And are we
Yeah.
talking like powerlifting or what kind of strength
Now,
training?
now it's interesting. Remember, I never stopped strength training. I know the power of it, but when you're
Yeah.
running 50, 60 miles a week, all you're doing is just battling muscle loss.
Yep.
You can't stack on muscle, right? So, getting back to coaching and accountability, I hired a bodybuilding coach, and I've
Mm,
been doing this for 30 years. I have a graduate degree in it. I know how to do it. I needed him to guide me and just really keep me accountable,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I stopped running completely. Still did love, zone 2 cardio, hikes. Got into hiking,
Sure.
some Peloton, things like that, but really focused on bodybuilding style training. So it's just high volume split routine, changing it up all the time. He would, yeah, we would design new workouts together every 2 months, every month, and completely changed my diet. So I wish I had a picture at the middle. So what's crazy about these pictures, I weigh exactly the same in those two pictures. So In the first picture, I'm 200 pounds and 19% body fat. In the second picture, I'm 200 pounds and 9% body fat.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got to in the bulking, the muscle building phase, I got to 226. That was fun.
So
yeah,
for the people who think you can't do it as you age, you can.
59, man.
Because I've heard
Why I did it.
only 42. I've heard that I can't build much muscle at 42, and I'm like, what? That doesn't seem right.
20 pounds of lean mass in a year.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
but I was completely focused. My why was immensely strong, right? It's something I'd wanted to do my whole life. I wanted to set an example for my kids, and I wanted to set an example for my clients. What's fascinating is I did it for myself in 2022. So when you met me, I think we met in Park City in January of 2022.
Yep.
I was that first guy. And I announced there that I'm going to do a bodybuilding. And then I set a photo shoot for my birthday. I paid a professional photographer. So I knew I had to take my
had
shirt
to
off,
hit it.
Right? So did that. The next year, 15 of my clients decided to do it. So that was my whole goal, was to inspire people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This year I have 27 doing it. And by the way, I learned a valuable lesson last year. So of those 15 people, right, 3 of them took my advice and booked a photo shoot. Guess how many finished out of 15?
3.
3. The others, quote unquote, finished. They got in better shape. Nothing like the picture you just saw, right?
It's got to be a requirement now. You can't join the program unless you
27 guys. They started January 1st.
Yeah.
We are all going to the Arizona event in October, the GoBro thing. And GoBundance has a professional photographer. It's going to do a full photo shoot. We're going to get the guys up on stage with their shirts off. So talk about, and then the guys that are really do well, that feel good about it, I'm going to have them stand up like during the event. And then I'm going to get 800 guys to sign up in 2025. So I need to hire some coaches. So Todd, if you're doing something, if you want some extra work, if you want to be a coach. So anyway, funny. I don't know how we got off on that, but what a great journey that was. You were asking me about running.
What I want to know is, what was the difference you noticed, other than you look different, right? You had all of a sudden muscle definition. You lost a little bit of body fat, but feeling like, were you more energized? Were you less energized? What?
I'm going to tell you that there's only 2 things I miss about running. Number one is the community. There's a great community of people, and I don't see them anymore. So as a group of friends that we really only ran and then would party together, right? Like hang out and have beers in the parking lot, that kind of thing. And the feeling after a great run, like you just, unless you really crush a leg workout, you don't get that high that you get from it. It's
way different.
You really can't replace it. And I'm doing some zone 5 cardio now where I'm getting that back. I feel immensely better. My sleep is better. My overall, obviously my strength is better. My body feels better. My energy is insane. I'm not tired all the time. Dude, I had times where I would do night training, because we would run through the night in ultra marathons, where I would leave the house at 9 at night, start running at midnight, and run till 6 in the morning. Like you're a wreck the next day when you do. I know, it's freaking crazy, right? It's nothing compared to some of the guys that have been on stage at GoBundance. I shook Colin O'Brady's hand. I go, thanks for making me running 100 miles look like a 5K, like holy crap, right? But yeah, and quite frankly, relations with the wife are better. She thinks I'm more attractive. Your wives will never tell you look like shit until after you change it. I've realized this, right? She goes, yeah, you were kind of like skinny and like you didn't have shoulders. She's like, I really like this new look. And I'm like, oh, there's a why for me, right?
I mean, you throw that picture up and you don't have shoulders. Yeah. You're just kind of just
look at
flatlined, right?
Down. Yeah. And I've got a decent structure. I'm not fat by any, but it's a completely different. And you just feel so much better. Like even a lot of people say I look younger, in the second one, like I feel 100%. Better. Yeah, sometime I'm going to put up my picture of me at my peak of ultra running, and I post it consistently, and I also look at it consistently because it motivates me to lift weights and eat a lot of protein, and get good sleep. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I haven't fully embraced that yet, but I was a runner. I ran competitive through college, to high school, through college, and running has always been my go-to up until just a few years ago, where I got injured.
Yeah.
And this was injury after injury after injury from running. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I just can't keep doing this, including my back. Right. And I'm just like, I have to start lifting weights because
Yeah.
I would run 7 days a week.
Sure.
And
Typical runner.
right, 7 days a week. And I'm running, minimum of 5 miles each run.
Yeah.
And I never was an ultra marathoner, but I would put in the miles. And if I lifted, it would maybe be once a week, maybe
Sure.
be once a week.
And you're exhausted. You can't put energy into it at all,
Yeah, you're not getting a great lifting workout. Like,
Yeah.
and
It's secondary.
I would have this like lifting routine that I was going to do. And then, you do like, I'm going to do 3 sets of everything. You do like 2 and you're like, all right, I'm done. Like
Yeah.
that was good enough. Right.
I know, but you'll never do that with a run, like you'd never cut a run short, but
Yeah. So now I have kind of done a little bit similar to you, maybe not quite that extreme. I still do some running, but um, the lifting provides a different feeling for sure afterwards.
100%.
And I notice a different benefit, but like you said, that runner's high, it's hard to replace. It feels
It
really
is.
good.
It is. And I get a really good high from lifting, but
Yeah,
it is definitely different. But and I'll get
different.
back into it. But right now I bulked again, so back up to like 220. So I'm gonna do the whole program with the guys and plan on
Love it.
taking my shirt off in Arizona too. So
I love
I
it.
want to look good. I don't want to show them up, but I want to look good too as the
Yeah.
coach.
Oh, you
So
got to show them up as the
I
coach. You
gotta
got
show up. I
to.
know, like I started everything before them. So plus I'm the third oldest. There's a 64-year-old and a 62-year-old in it. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got 5 steps to achieving, your goals that you never thought were possible. Can
Mhm.
you take us through, at least a couple of
Yeah.
those steps?
Yeah. I mean, number one is the why, right? So we
Yeah.
talked about that already. Without that, I don't move forward, right? You have to have it. And so we don't need to, kind of belabor that point. And then, really to me, number two is accountability. And you
Yeah.
can define that any way you want, right? So it can be with a coach, it can be with your wife, it can be with a group, it can be with an app, it can be with a monthly meeting, whatever that is, right? But you have to have and you can't say I'm accountable to myself. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
It
You can't
does
be
it does
accountable to
not work.
yourself.
No,
Yep.
no, it doesn't work at all. Maybe if you're David Goggins, that's it. The one in a billion that can do
Yeah.
that, right? Um, and then you kind of go down the steps, right? And then to me, there has to be purpose to it, right? It can't
Mm.
just be, and that can be part of the why, but there has to be something bigger than you. I'm a religious guy, so I, put things on God, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be a community. Like when I ran 100 miles, I knew I needed all these steps, right? Um, and I made sure that I did it for something bigger than me. So I raised money for a local homeless shelter every mile I ran, and that made it
Mm.
very different in training. And I was very open about it. I was very accountable to people, right? And then one of the ones that people overlook, and this comes up in our coaching with the guys in Go Abundance, you got to do stuff that you actually enjoy, right? So
Oh,
it's got to have, like, we talk about food prepping. And the guys made really good points. Like, if I don't put spices on it, I'm going to McDonald's, right? So I'm like, yeah, man, spice it up, do sriracha, do whatever it is that makes it taste good. You've got to semi enjoy it to make it work. It can't
yep.
all be suffering, right?
Yep.
Because nobody will stick to it, right? People will tell me, well, what burns the most calories for cardiovascular? And my answer is the one that you'll do. I don't give a shit what you do. If you like Peloton, if you like rowing, if you like swimming, swimming is great. I hate it. I never liked swimming when I was a triathlete. So it's not a good calorie burner for me because I'm going to blow that off. I'm just not going to do
Yep.
it. I love the Peloton. Easy way for me to get cardio. I do it. Some people hate that. My wife hates it. She loves the Stairmaster. I can hate that thing, but I do it with her. So finding something that you kind of, you don't have to completely love it, but you don't hate it.
You
You
have to
know?
be at least enough to where you're not going to just dread doing
Yeah.
it and then
Yeah.
and then make excuses why it didn't get done, right? Because that
Yeah.
because
I
that's what
mean,
ends up happening. Maybe you can suffer through it for a little while. I've done that before. You suffer
yeah.
through it, you suffer through it, and then eventually it's like, whatever, screw this.
No,
It's
I mean,
like,
like, I'll use yoga as an example. I know the benefits of it. I know it's
yeah,
really good for me. I dread going to those classes because it hurts. I'm so inflexible. It
Yeah.
hurts. So I'd have to go 5 times a week, to me even make a discernible difference. I just don't, it's just not
Yep.
my thing, right? I just do my own stretching. And so, that's why you find that, figure that out. People go, oh, I bought a NordicTrack because it burns 1,000 calories an hour. And I'm like, how often do you use it? Never. I'm like, it's actually
Never.
burning 0 calories an hour,
Yep.
because it's sitting in your living room. So to me, really, like, just to really push the point home, if you're going to get anything out of this podcast, like, work on your why, like, and,
Yeah.
and have somebody who's like me, that's in your face, that's willing to keep peeling the onion. Don't have somebody who's like, okay, that's a good goal, you want to lose 10 pounds. Look at the results on New Year's resolutions. Look at the results on diets. 95%. Can you imagine if you were selling multifamily and you said this has a 95% chance of failing? How many of those are you coaching people through and selling, right? That's the diet industry. It's got a 5%
Yep.
chance of succeeding because
Yep.
it doesn't work. You got to find
Yeah.
that why.
I can't remember what author it was, but they wrote a book. It's maybe Dean Graciosi. I can't remember who it was, but anyways, they said that when they're talking to people about their why, they'll say, "Why do you want to do this?" And somebody will say, "I want to do it because of my kids." And I'll go, "Well, why is that important?" And they say, "Well, it's important because, I want to be able to whatever hike with my kids." Okay, but why is that important? And he says, "We do
That's the way
that
you do it.
7 times.
Yep.
And by the seventh time, they'll finally say, that's my why." And like
Yeah.
you said, a lot of times people break down crying, or it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that is why it's so valuable. And I think you kind of said that earlier, is like, you're going to come up with maybe some quick and easy, like what's on the top of my head, but you got to
Yep.
think deeper than that. And I think that's really important to have an accountability person to say, hey, but let's dig deeper than this.
Yeah. And as a coach, you have to be willing to really push that, like, really, really
Yeah.
lean in. And it's very uncomfortable. A lot of coaches won't even do it because it makes the person uncomfortable or emotional. That one is really powerful. Like, a lot of us, like, I had my kids at 38 and 41, right? So I'm going to be an older parent. So obviously, one of my whys is, I want to play with my grandkids, but why, right? And so you get to the emotional component, like, for me, is I saw my parents not be able to do that, right? They
Yeah.
both let themselves go. And it was really, really disappointing for me. I don't want my kids to feel that way. That's powerful and emotional for me. Or the other side of it, I had a dad who skied with me when I was 78, and it was amazing. And, that's what I want for my kids. And you feel that joy. It could be joyful. It doesn't have to be a heart attack.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, you need a new story. It's always about a guy having a heart attack. I'm like, yeah, but that one worked.
Yeah.
It's I got a buddy who's retired and he's swimming every day, 7 days a week at 5 in the morning. And I'm like, what the? He's a retired fireman. He used to drink all day in retirement. I'm like, what happened? Had a heart attack. He
Yeah.
literally didn't even tell me about it a year ago. Almost died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There's definitely a why right there. Hopefully
oh
we don't
yeah.
need to, but we don't need to
Hopefully
get to
not.
that point, right? We
Yeah.
don't need to get
We
to that
don't.
point if we actually sit down and really think about our why. And if we do that, we won't get to that point, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, even these financial penalties, we're going to do this in our coaching group and we do it in our GoPod. Um, they work, but do they actually change behavior? Because we're not going to bill a guy for the rest of his life $100 when he's late.
yep. Yep.
Hopefully you have to do it for a little while, and then it changes their behavior enough that they don't have to do it anymore. So I believe in those. They work. Everybody values money. It's just you got to find that number. For some guys, 100. I don't care, $100. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Rami, we got to wrap up here, but I want to
Sure.
tell me a little bit more about the franchise and what it is
Sure.
about. I want to
Yeah,
know
it's pretty
that.
exciting. I think I've just sold my seventh GoBros, bought locations, most of them multiple locations. So it's starting to, kind of, the guys are seeing it as a really good alternative investment because it's not real estate. It's a little more, traditional monthly recurring income, as opposed to like a big exit or, getting dividends or whatever. So, yeah, it's a fitness franchise. It's a very simple model. It's personal training, but in a small group. So
Okay.
it's not class based. It's not Orange Theory. It's not F45. It is actual personal training. We limit it to 6 people. So one coach, 6 people. That's all that's going on in the gym. 1,500 square foot footprint. Very, very well buttoned up. The company's been around just as long as I've been a coach. It started in 92.
Hmm.
So think about what we've been through, all the way back to 9/11 and that
Yep.
recession right after that, and then
Yep.
2008, and then COVID. And, so it's really been stress tested. And so it just franchised in 2019,
Hmm.
and we're all over the United States. So we just sold our 220th location. So we're growing really, really fast. We've got about 42 open. And it's great. I mean, it's got a lot of benefits that GoBros like. It's not a big initial investment. They're costing about 400,000 all in to open. That is everything: marketing, recruitment, all that, build out, franchise fee, everything, 400 grand. And a couple of components that everybody likes. It's a 3 to 4 person employment model. That's amazing, because
That's awesome.
that's awesome, right?
Yep.
We do not let you open until you're cash flow positive. So we do a pre-sale. So like my first one, we sold 108 memberships before we opened our doors. So the
Wow.
day we opened, we billed 108 credit cards. So that's
Wow.
nice. That's not normal in a small business, right?
No, I mean, that's setting, obviously, it's setting the franchisee up for some success right away, right?
Yeah. And we don't let you put them anywhere where it will not be successful. So we have a
Sure.
really sophisticated real estate algorithm software. Like, some guys get offended because they'll send me a zip code and I'm like, sorry, it doesn't have the demographics or the amount of people that we need to support it.
Yeah.
And the whole model is completely full, making really good return on investment at 130 members. So it's it's a very high end, it's very luxury. Like here in Atlanta, my second one, the average billing is going to be $439 a month per person. So it's personal training. It's not a gym membership.
Yep.
These are not, and and so it's, like I said, way back when at the beginning of the podcast, it's an evaluation process. So, guys are interested, we put them into it, we see if it's a fit, they see if it's a fit for them. And then, I would say, I'm very transparent. People say, what's the downside? It's a slow buildup. It's from the day you buy your franchise, it's a year before you're making money. It does take a while to get and real estate is a crapshoot. I found my first one in 4 days. I found my second one in 8 months. So, and then third one was like 2 months, which is more normal.
Yep.
So that's kind of a, 30,000 foot view of it. But yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, man. I've got a couple last questions.
Sure, go for it.
Favorite book you can recommend to our listeners? I want a favorite health book, if you have one, and then if you want, you can add another, business or
I'll give you one
mindset
that's
or something.
both. I'll give you two. Love Atomic Habits, and these are most recent, right? James Clear, absolutely love it, because that applies to everything we just talked about, right? And then The Comfort Crisis is my favorite book of the last 5 years. Absolutely love it. And I'm reading The Scarcity Brain now, which is his most recent one. I read The Comfort Crisis, I think 3 times. Like, it's so, like, I was talking to Clay Speakman about it, how, we just don't suffer enough. We don't push ourselves hard enough to find that clarity, right?
Yeah.
So absolutely love those. And then I've really been loving Hardy's books, Who Not How, and The Gap and the Gain from a business standpoint. I will say those books, I feel like they could almost be magazines. Like if there's a criticism on those, like I feel like I get the point in 2 chapters and then he just keeps repeating it, to make it a hardcover book. But it's good. I mean, it gets the point across. So those have been my favorites just in the last couple of years.
I would have the same criticism. I like the books.
I got it. Like, I got it, dude.
Yeah. The Who Not How, I'm like, dude, you literally could have written this for like 2 pages.
Yeah, it was an article in a business journal.
Yeah,
that's what it could have been, right? But he somehow made it a book, and he didn't give like a whole lot of examples, and it's kind of interesting, right? So
I would highly recommend The Comfort Crisis, if not for anything else other than it's entertaining. But it's a great book. Yeah, I think it's that was.
And I'd be remiss to not say, Quiet the Noise, which is the series of books that I wrote. So gotta love those, right? And that's about finding God, finding spirituality through being in nature and long distance running, and just basically getting away from it all to quiet your mind.
There's nothing better to me than going on a hike. I love going on hikes,
Yeah,
especially in the mountains, but just going on a hike in complete nature. Um,
so amazing.
it's just so amazing. And if you can do it by yourself or even with, your spouse or, somebody like that, but man, it's awesome. And it, like you said, it just helps you connect to God, to nature, the whole thing.
Yeah,
So,
whatever you need, just quiet time, man. We just
yeah.
don't have it, right? I'm looking forward to reading Colin O'Brady's books from Vermont. I thought he was one of the best speakers I've ever seen, and
Mm,
he's got that 12-hour walk where you
yep.
go 12 hours with no phone. Like, oh my gosh, like you can tell the way I like to talk. Like that's going to be a challenge
It's
for me, right?
intimidating,
But
right?
it's intimidating. Like I've been thinking about, I'm Catholic, and I've been thinking about going to a silent retreat for 10 years, and I haven't pulled the
Yeah.
trigger.
Yeah.
Scott Worley was giving me a hard time, and my wife is like, "Oh my God, you're gonna die,"
Yeah.
because
You
I talk
cannot
for
do
a
that.
living. I know.
Yep. Yep.
Once I'm gonna explode.
That's funny.
Yep.
All right, one last question. What are your
Sure.
three pillars of wealth creation? Maybe you've already said some of them, but let's
Yep.
let's try to think of something new because you've said a lot already.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, like, I push back a little on this, complete financial freedom. I get it, but I would rather do, like, I am loving selling these franchises. I
Yeah.
love the whole process. So to me, that finding a vertical income that you love and that pays really well is, and I have no desire to let that go. Even if I was financially free, I would still do it. Right. So same thing with coaching, like, and all of a sudden coaching's become lucrative, right? Because I'm able to, I've been able to raise my prices and kind of
Yep.
do that. So, and then, everything else is like that. Everybody in GoBundance knows all the rest of the stuff, right? The horizontal and all that. I keep coming, this whole podcast could have been called Your Why, because that's the wealth creation as well, right?
Right.
Is that, when I look back on when it's a whole nother podcast, but really circled the drain when we basically lost everything. So I've recreated everything in the last 7 years. And it wasn't the economy. Economy definitely didn't help, right? For sure. Like it was tough, it was tough. I took on a new operating costs and all that, but it was my why had fallen away. It's like
Mm,
now that I look back on it with clarity and with honesty, I had lost my why, and it took me a while to get it back. Right.
yep.
So once I got that and got around people, like in GoBundance, man, it's back. You know, yeah, it's awesome. So
Love
just
it.
focus on that why, and the wealth will come.
Yeah. 100%, man.
Yeah.
Rami, look, really appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Um, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Easiest is coachrami.com, Rami, coachrami.com. Go to the contact form. I'm always willing to, my Calendly's there. Say, I heard you on Todd's podcast. Love to have a coaching call. Everything's free. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. And then there's information on the franchise there as well. If that interests you, we'll make that part of the call. Whatever you guys feel like. But I love connecting with people and listeners, and I'll post this on my socials and all that too when it comes out.
Awesome. Rami, really appreciate it. Appreciate the conversation. I think health is something that a lot of entrepreneurs know that's important, but we just kind of let it slide until it's too late, until that why is all of a sudden
Heart attack.
hitting us in the face with a heart attack.
Yeah.
So I think it's just it's valuable. Hopefully, I know the listeners got a lot of value out of this, and look, take it serious. Get
Yeah.
to coachrami.com, check it out.
Yeah.
Whether he's the right
You
fit
know,
for you and you're the right fit for him, that's
if
another
not, I'll,
story.
I'll
But
get you somebody who is. I'm
yeah,
a
take
big
it
believer in that.
serious.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'll end it with a healthy man has 1,000 goals. A sick man has one.
Mm, wow.
That's powerful. And
Very
think about
powerful.
when you get super sick with the flu. You're not thinking about anything but that
Yeah.
flu. Imagine
Yeah.
living like that, which is what can happen if you don't take care of it. So, healthy man has
I
1,000 goals. Sick man has one.
I had debilitating back pain
Mm.
last year. Um, it lasted from mid-January through mid-July, and it
Oh,
got so bad at times where I would have these headaches and I was dizzy and I couldn't focus on anything. other than the pain that was shooting through my body. And I'm like, I have to change this. Like, this can no longer happen. And so I've done things to change that issue, that I've never done before, and I've committed to it. And it's like, and when I feel like, okay, I don't need to do the physical therapy today because I'm just tired and I don't want to do it, I'm like, no, we're doing that. Like, we're doing it.
Yeah,
Everything that I have done to get that pain to go away, it's like, I'm committed to it, and it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, human beings are pretty simple, right? We seek pleasure and we avoid pain.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I truly believe avoiding pain is a lot more powerful. Like I tell people, I love sales. I hate losing way more than I like winning. So if I lose a deal, I will ruminate on it forever and try to fix it. If I win a deal, I celebrate for 5 minutes and then I move on.
And then you move on and go to the next deal.
But pain is a motivator, and I hope that people don't have to have it. But I'm glad that you took it seriously, and it didn't sound like you had a choice.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't, right?
Oh.
All right, man.
Awesome,
again,
brother.
Really appreciate it. You have a fantastic rest of the day.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.